There are very few action movies I've seen this past decade where, after finishing them, I found myself thinking that I've just watched something truly special. The Furious, I can confidently say, is one of those movies. The story follows a mute man whose daughter gets kidnapped, so he goes on a mission to try and get her back, and along the way comes across someone else whose goals also align with his. Now, this is directed by Kenji Tanigaki, who, on top of directing a couple other films before this, has largely worked as an action choreographer on movies like SPL Killzone, Twilight of the Warriors, and the live-action Rurouni Kenshin films. None of which I've seen before, but I absolutely want to after watching this. Because what's going on with the action here, I think, is incredibly creative and most of all, really fun to watch. On top of simply being brutal, there is a whole lot going on when it comes to using the environment during fights that always managed to surprise me whenever it happened. And from the very first fight, it just gets better from there. At the forefront of all this action are the two leads. This guy, who plays the mostly unnamed man during the film, and whose name I am simply unable to pronounce, and Joe Taslim, who plays a journalist named Naveen who is trying to expose the criminal empire involved in the kidnapping. And both of these guys give some very effective and often heartfelt performances that were at the core of this simple story. Now, there are a couple minor things holding this movie back from being truly great as a whole, in my opinion, starting with the story, funny enough. First off, the story here is simple but effective and it gets the job done. However, there are a couple character moments near the end, specifically with two of the villains, that I couldn't help but think felt a little forced, even if it did result in arguably the best fight scene in the entire film. Along with that, there was also some weird dubbing happening throughout the film that made certain dialogue feel awkward and stilted at times. It never ruined any of the scenes, but again, it was pretty noticeable. Despite some iffy story elements, I can't deny just how stellar the rest of this experience is, not the least bit because of its action sequences. There aren't a lot of movies in this genre like this that come around often, so if you're into martial arts or action in any way, I think you'll be in for a treat.